Serial entrepreneur Steve Larsen has done more in one lifetime than many others might do if they had 3, 4, 5, or 6 lifetimes. And he's done it all with a questionable ticker. When he was 15, he underwent corrective heart surgery. Back then, all that was still experimental, and in all, he's had 3 open heart surgeries. This multifaceted businessman is also a car and motorcycle enthusiast, father, world traveler, and a spiritual seeker. A rich and varied life with major ups and downs. Steve Larsen is our guest on this Bizgnus Interviews podcast. Steve, let's start by telling our viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I've been listening to your podcasts and interviews, which I absolutely love. And through that, I've kind of got an idea of the kind of people that are listening. And I think the things that would most interest them about me would be that, after a sort of decent career in large companies, IBM, Control Data, AT&T, I began starting my own companies. And as an entrepreneur, a founder, co-founder, or CEO, those companies that I founded really helped shape a lot of this transition of analog to the digital age. And the technologies that those companies created are still being used today to power Facebook, Google, Amazon, and other companies. All the time that was going on, Doug, I underwent, as we were talking before the call started, 3 open heart surgeries, experienced the devastating loss of a 2-year-old son, and then I found a daughter that I didn't know about and met her for the first time when she was 39 years old. And on top of that, I've carved my way through 18 countries and 43 states on 2 wheels and got paid to do it. So that essentially is me in a nutshell.
We have taken an opportunity to look through your book, and we need to talk about that in more depth. But towards the end, you talk about a spiritual journey that you have taken. I'd like to explore that with you a little bit. What do you mean when you say, for example, that you're a spiritual seeker?
Well, my spiritual journey began in a small evangelical conservative household, going to small churches that rejected even larger churches. We somehow had the truth. Not only were Muslims and Hindus all going to hell, but so were the Catholics. It was a very fundamental type of gospel and belief. That transferred to me becoming sort of God's debate champion when I was in high school and college. I asked a teacher to give me high school credit to allow me to read the Bible from cover to cover, and get credit in the class for that. And the reason I did it, I wanted to get more ammunition to strengthen my arguments to put down unbelievers and those who weren't on the God's team. Well, at that early age, even as a teenager and high school student, turns out reading the Bible really wasn't that helpful to my cause. The God that the Bible revealed was jealous, egotistical, arbitrary. And so I quickly learned, don't use the Bible as a source to back up your arguments. And after I experienced my first couple years of college, I actually joined a group of Jesus freaks, and kind of traveled the land preaching the gospel from soapboxes in college campuses.
You're at the University of Iowa at one point as a Jesus
Yes,
freak. How'd that
exactly.
go over?
Well, it was an interesting time. One of the things that I found was that following Christ's admonition to, if you wanted to become a follower of his, you needed to sell all that you have, give it to the poor, and follow him. That's a lot easier to do when you're a college student with no money. Once you've got a house, a job, cars, kids in school, that's much more difficult to a commandment to follow.
It would seem that if you have given it away while in college, you never wouldn't have it afterwards
Yes.
either.
Yes, and then I think the reading the Bible and then reading philosophy and then my daughter got involved with science and I started to see the differences between the way scientists view the world versus the sort of um, almost a fairy tale belief. I came to see these other things, and then when my son passed away. And tragically, at 2 years old, and a minister put his arm around me and said, "Well, this was God's will." Um, that was at that point I said, "Well, wait a minute. This all-powerful God that I believe in couldn't save my son, or he didn't want to. But those are the two choices. He either didn't want to save my son, or he couldn't." And I couldn't resolve a belief in God anymore after that. And so, like the great philosopher C.S. Lewis, who wrote all of these wonderful books on Christianity, he confessed in his last book when he lost his life, he also lost his faith. So I think I'm probably in not alone of losing faith after going through some of those kinds of things. Does this make any sense?
It does make sense. And I think a lot of people, especially those of us who have a few years behind us, are thinking about that and wondering how that affected us as we look back on our lives. How did it affect you as you built businesses?
Well, during the business phase, I don't think I was that close to my faith. I was more focused on building the companies and building my life. Now, I did interact with some uh, religious institutions that actually were very helpful, and gave me some really good life tips. But I gradually moved away from believing in the great spirit, fuzzy God in the sky who made it all work.
As you look back on your life and you look at children and grandchildren, for example, what would you tell them based on what you learned over the years? And what would you tell them, by all means, don't do?
Uh, to, well, I think I would be more rather than don't try to hide and cover things up. If you make a mistake, be the first one to raise your hand and say, "I screwed up." That would be the first thing I would say. Don't try to cover things up. One, it almost always gets discovered. And number two, in time, when you tried to cover it up until you get found out, you live in a absolute hell.
As a serial entrepreneur, as you sit in a very comfortable home, what are you going to do next with your life?
Well, that's a good question. I can, I've got to, you look at your life, Doug, and the hourglass of time, you realize that there's a lot more sand at the bottom than there is at the top. And one of the things that I've been thinking about recently is how do I matter most to the people that I care about the most? In other words, when I look out at my the people that are in the first row at my funeral, right? Those people, maybe the first two rows if I'm lucky. What do I want to give those people and leave those people with? It's more about that. Yes, I still have places in the world I want to see. Yes, I still want to, knock off some more miles on my motorcycles and my cars. But what I think about more every day is how do I communicate these lessons that I've learned to the people that matter the most to me?
Do you have an answer for that?
Um, well, like a lot of things, Doug, I think it's a process, right? For me, I've started writing to the kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews. I've been setting up some accounts for them to help them financially. Um, and I've even started a family Zoom book club thing where we talk about books that might matter and influence them.
Now that's an interesting way to use Zoom. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's working. It's still early, but it's going well. I'm very pleased with it, and I think not everybody's 100% on board yet, but I think they're seeing that there may be value there.
Here's a question. It might be too personal, but how's your heart doing?
My heart is pretty good. I mean, one of the things that you learn when it comes to, diseases that could be potentially fatal, um, hearts are basically plumbing issues. And so plumbing issues can be addressed better than some other maladies that might affect us. And the current medical establishment knows a good deal about heart. And so I feel like I'm in pretty good hands, and I don't think there's anything on the horizon that I need to worry too much about. I don't spend as much time at high altitude as I used to.
Oh, there goes Everest for you,
Yes, yeah.
or the 14,000 peaks around Denver, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah.
Steve, what would you like to talk about that I haven't been bright enough to ask you?
Oh, I think you've done a wonderful job. I think that I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs and company starters that listen to this. When I look back at the 9 companies that I started, three of them did okay, actually pretty good. Three of them kind of just tripled out and never really amounted to anything. And then three absolutely crashed into the side of the mountain and killed everybody on board. And and out of those experiences, I learned a few things that your listeners might like. One, entrepreneurs should always focus on the problem at least as much as the product that they've created. So many times we get tied up with how great our product is, and we don't think about the people that are going to use it, why they're going to use it, and what benefits they're going to get. And that means, and then sort of a side part of that is focus your energy and attention on the customers who are paying you. The people that pay you matter the most. Um, in an early stage company, you want to cultivate a really good set of 2 or 3 really smart and engaged advisors and listen to them. They have a perspective you don't, you're too close to it. And probably the last thing I would say, under all circumstances, be ethical, transparent, and honest. That's the only way that you'll succeed long term is run the business in your right way.
One last thing, Steve, is more housekeeping than anything else. How can our listeners and viewers get in touch with you? Do you have a website?
I do. It's www.stevelarsen.net, and Larsen is the Danish spelling, so Larsen. Stevelarsen.net will get people to my book. They can order it. They can. It's actually a link to Amazon, and they can find out more of the businesses that I've run, or more than they ever wanted to know about me.
Not necessarily. I did forget to ask you anything about the book. Tell us about that.
Well, the book is doing well, Doug. I mean, it's surprising. It's kind of a broad scope, right? Because my life had so many of these interwoven threads, whether it's the family, where I lost a son and gained a daughter, or learned of a daughter, the business career, and then you have these three yellow cars that have occupied my entire life. I owned one yellow Lotus for 50 years, one car for 50 years. And then, of course, these motorcycle trips all over the world. And then we alluded a little bit to the faith journey. So, what's happening with the book is that different constituencies are latching on. There's Mark Barnes, a brilliant writer over at BMW Magazine, just recently wrote a wonderful review of the book, but it's all focused on this great motorcycle writer. That's what he cares about, right? And other people have focused in on the health story. My hometown newspaper, Rochester, Minnesota, just did a story, and all they wrote about was me finding a daughter after 39 years. That was the story. So it's been all over the people. And so sales kind of go up in these blips, and then they kind of level off. They go up again and then up and down all the time. It's fun to see. The best part is getting all the mail from people that read it and decide to reach out.
Steve Larsen's new book, My Heart Has Been in It From the Start, is available at local bookstores as well as the usual online merchants. Well, thanks for listening to this Bizgnus Interviews podcast. We welcome your thoughts and comments. Please email us at the following address: editor@bizgnus.com. That's spelled BIZGNUS.com. We look forward to hearing from you.